What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk about a couple of topics that I think are on a lot of people's minds. Obviously, there are a large portion of the community that has left the game for games like Undecember. They may return, they may not. There's also just a large portion of the community that has just quit the game, not leaving for any other game. They're just not playing anymore. And there's also a large portion of the community that are taking a break from the game and waiting for new content or for updates to the game, or just to wait until the server Paragon kind of develops a little bit further, log on, get a bunch of levels due to the boosted XP, which I'm currently benefiting from. I'm about a couple levels away from server Paragon right now. But all of that being said, I want to talk about new content. What would we expect, or what do we want in the future? And a couple of things that I think are on a lot of people's minds are new Battlegrounds, potentially different types of new forms of content. And I want to suggest something that I think would really benefit the game and I think is really, really fun across a lot of the games that I've played right now, and that is seasons. But with all of that, I want to talk about Battlegrounds first. So this is something that I thought was really interesting because I've been actually tuning in. I tuned into JT's video, for those of you that haven't seen it, talking about what's kind of stale with the game. And one of the main things that brings him to the game and a lot of other players around there, including myself, is actually Battlegrounds. Now, right now, Battlegrounds is kind of a cesspit of bugs. I'm sure many of you have found that out. I really want to participate in Battlegrounds. The season just reset. I'm farming up my legendary items right now to go ahead and find whether or not, or at least try to get my relatively okay PvP build to go and jump into Battlegrounds instead of having like 0 legendary essences, which hopefully this essence extraction helps me here. But really, I think that the game needs to switch up the way Battlegrounds work. Maybe with a new game mode, with a new seasonal buff, debuff, something like that. Potentially, if you, some sort of unique, like if you stand, I don't know, some X distance away, you do less damage to people or something crazy like that, you know? Obviously, that's probably not a great one because range classes will probably just be absolutely dog water, but something interesting that might change things up for the majority of the game. Also, new PvP map. This is something that I'm surprised isn't in the game already. Right now we have the 3 lanes, and because of the 3 lanes and the way the idols work, 2 classes really reign supreme, and that is Wizards and Necros. Wizards can coat the whole battlefield in laser beams that are invisible, and they have so much CC, and then Necros can block entire corridors with terrain. Both those classes are just absurd to get past, especially if you're a melee class. Demon Hunters can have sometimes ways to work around, but even they get outranged by people like the Wizards. So that's really, really crazy. Now, new Battlegrounds map, I think, will really breathe a ton of life into the game going forward, just because of how impactful PvP is on kind of the drive for people to play the game. Maybe this isn't a casual thing, and maybe this isn't best for everyone, and that's where I suggest the new content. So new content, there's a lot of different things in this game that could be added. Obviously, some ways to grind resonance, which I've already gone over, and I've kind of beaten that topic up a crazy amount, probably something that I don't even need to talk about anymore because it's literally in every single one of my videos when I talk about this stuff. But potentially having some sort of a new way to grind experience and gear that isn't open world farming, or just upping the drop rates to make the existing content more exciting, and then doing what I suggest, which I think will be way, way cooler, and that is seasons. So this is something that I really have grown to appreciate after jumping into Undecember and Diablo 3 recently. Now, Diablo 3 I had never played, and I played it for about a week, about 3 weeks ago when the season was a couple weeks old. And I really enjoyed it. But what happened in that game is that I got my main build and I left finding myself, well, all I do is sit here and try to get that minute extra stat upgrade, which is fun for a certain amount of time, but then eventually ends up getting stale, which is what is kind of what's happening in this game right now. We're grinding for the occasional levels. Granted, you can't infinitely grind levels, but even in Diablo 3, you start to kind of taper off because the levels get less valuable in terms of overall leveling, and on top of that, they get harder and harder to achieve, which is similar to this game, kind of. And you kind of just get that minute extra combat rating, which technically doesn't make you stronger in this game, whereas in Diablo 3 it does. But regardless, what's interesting about it is when the season resets, it renews my interest to play a game like Diablo 3. Because what ends up happening is not only do they release new mechanics in the game, but everything is relatively the same, but I get that whole new, brand new sense of progression, kind of similar to the class change. Now, I know class change isn't for everyone, and I know seasons aren't for everyone. That's why a lot of these games have two different types. You can play on the main game and not make your character a seasonal character, or you can go and jump onto a seasonal character and then play the game on the season. So you can either not reset any of your progress and just play the game as it is, or you can have that seasonal progression and kind of get on top of the leaderboards. And maybe if you get on top of the leaderboards reasonably, or if you play to a certain degree, that is a way to give you resonance overall, and your resonance and legendary gems would transfer between seasons. I think this is actually a really interesting idea. Obviously, they cannot make it so that if you're invested and they make a whole new game mode outside of the resonance, that would absolutely infuriate and completely destroy their pay-to-win model, which might be a good thing for some of you, but I think that actually would do a lot more harm than good to the game. So having resonance transfer between characters and seasons makes it so the game is still pay-to-win, which is not necessarily a good thing, but you can grind resonance by playing each season. And the higher you get on that leaderboard in terms of how many paragon levels you have, or maybe how much combat rating you have, or whatever, gives you additional resonance or extra gem power or gems or something like that, so that you can cash in on it in later seasons and have that continuous sense of progression. I think something like this would be actually a really interesting game mode and would have me logging on and grinding really hard at the start of each season so that I can get some milestones done to secure my place as someone who's going to get a couple of points of resonance or whatever, hundreds of resonance, tens of resonance, whatever it is, however they wanted to balance it. Again, this is just kind of an idea throwing out there, so that you can continue the game. Not only that, but you would start at level 1, so all the sense of progression within the season itself is still there. I have to acquire and get myself to Hell 2, Hell 3. Maybe they can remove the Server Paragon type of XP reduction, but then keep the XP increase. For example, if the Server Paragon is, only a week from the game start, well, anyone that's starting the game now, even a week late, has a chance to somewhat catch up to some degree, but the people who are playing it in each season and wants to go ahead and get to those resonance numbers are just absolutely crushing it and are rewarded for that. I think this is an interesting idea. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I wanted to talk about new content today because I know that there's been a lot of critiquing videos. I have just swapped to Monk, and I've been really interested in Battlegrounds, so this is kind of on my mind, as well as all the other videos out there that are kind of talking about how Diablo Immortal, as JT would put it, is stale, and Darth was going over the state of the game recently, and basically all of our, videos or the community sentiment right now is that the game is kind of in an awkward spot because of Hell 5. So I feel like this is a really good time to kind of propose some interesting ideas that I can really breathe some life into the game. Again, let me know what you think down below. Do you think seasons are a good idea? I personally don't see a downside if you're going to keep if they want to opt out of it, all their characters and progression on the main server, and then have I guess there is a downside if you don't want to participate. Everyone else is going to scale up in resonance, but I think that's a fair trade-off because it's going to incentivize a lot of people to come back, enjoy the season, and then leave after each season. So guess I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe Blizzard will listen, maybe they won't. They don't really listen to a bunch of them, but I feel like last time I made that bar bug video, they made a change just for that video. So I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers here. And for those of you that are really enjoying the game still, would this season thing make you want to enjoy the game more, or will that turn you off from it? Again, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you for tomorrow's video.